What's good, Savages? Welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Savage Paulson, and with me, as always, is, according to the latest episode of This Is Wrestling, the number one fan of the latest installment of the Survivor Series War Games, Zach McGibbon. What's going on, Zach?
Oh, yeah. I don't know where you got that summary from, but I think it could be more the opposite.
Yeah.
Based on how it was not a very positive review for those that might have listened into War Games.
If you didn't get that, folks, I was being sarcastic. It was definitely, he is definitely not the number one fan of the latest Survivor Series War Games. That's for
No,
sure.
It kind of fell short of some of my expectations, let's just say.
Well, the fact that there was only 4 matches.
Yeah.
I mean, right there, I was like, well, and yeah, it fell short of, I think, a lot of people's expectations, but we won't get into that. I think you get from according to the latest episode of This Is Wrestling, I think you let it all out.
Yeah, like I think from the opening minute I set a tone, whereas like we got to talk about this show.
Yeah, I was like, man, I will say this: I didn't listen to the whole episode. I listened to about half of it, and yet to say anything quite positive about. About
Trust me, I was trying. I was really trying. Listen. I was looking for something, but sometimes you just have to call it how you see it, right? So.
At first, I was like, wait a minute, is he always playing the heel here on This Is Wrestling? Because this seems like he's playing a heel character over here. But then I realized, like, oh, yeah, I forgot that, no, not the biggest fan. But
no,
I digress. Another week. We got a lot of things to talk about, a few things to talk about. We normally start with some NFL football this time of year at Blue Collar Sports, but today we're going to start with some college football. We're also going to talk about Week 13. Don't worry, we'll get there. And I want to talk a little bit also a little bit of baseball and talk about Tarik Skubal's situation. I honestly haven't really been paying attention to much baseball since the World Series was finished. But I did see in the news today something that kind of threw me a monkey wrench, where somebody mentioned like, oh, are the Detroit Tigers thinking of trading Tarik Skubal? And I was like, what? And then I realized he was on the last year of his contract, about to become a free agent after the 2026 season. And well, it's either you're going to lose him for nothing, or you might try to get something in return. And let me say, Cy Young winner, you might be able to get something big in return, especially if you trade him to maybe a Yankees or a Red Sox or maybe Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers will go there, but we'll talk about it later on. We'll finish the show with that. But let's start here. I have a few questions. I know you're a little bit more into college football than I am. I've been trying real hard to follow college football. I have watched quite a few games on Saturdays here the last few weeks. But let's talk about this Lane Kiffin situation. If you follow college football at all, you've probably heard about Lane Kiffin. Who's Lane Kiffin? Well, Lane Kiffin was the head coach for Ole Miss. 11-1 Ole Miss, I might add. I believe they're ranked number 7th. Well, he left Ole Miss right here last week for the new head coaching job at LSU. That opened up about a month ago when they let go their head coach. And maybe you can clarify a few things for me, because I'm not quite familiar with all the rules and how everything goes. I'm used to a head coach, let's say in the NFL or even the NHL or even the major leagues or any sports.
Yeah.
You don't really leave your job unless it's the end of the season and maybe you get to a point where you mutually agree to separate, to go your separate ways, which AKA means you got fired, really.
Yeah.
But right here, after the season, before the playoffs, let's just say this: Ole Miss is ranked 7th. They'll most likely make the top 12 teams that are going to make the college football playoffs. And he goes ahead and takes the head coaching job at LSU. I was a bit flabbergasted, I guess you could say, about the whole thing. I was like, wait a minute, a head coach that leads his team to a great season. I mean, Ole Miss was quickly becoming one of my favorite teams to watch. I love Ole Miss, I love the way they play football. 11-1, ranked seventh right now as far as the college football playoffs are concerned. And then he takes, which is probably the biggest head coach job available in football right now at LSU. There's a lot of things that went into it, including the fact that he tried to bring his coaching staff with him. He also tried to finish the season at Ole Miss to coach during the playoffs, even though he accepted the job, which Ole Miss refused and said, no, you're not going to leave us for LSU and we're not going to let you coach the remainder of the season. So clear the airs for me here, Zach, because I don't think I've ever seen that. Is this a product of the new NCAA football with the NIL and all those things? I feel like ever since Saban left, it's been kind of a different type of NCAA football, and I think that's one of the reasons why Saban didn't want to coach in college football anymore. He'd rather sit next to Pat McAfee and be an analyst. Yeah, can you clarify a few things here? Because this is a first for me. I didn't really know that this was possible, and it is this the. I did see that other coaches did the same thing during last week, so I'm a bit perplexed about the whole thing. So maybe you could clarify a few things concerning Lane Kiffin and him signing with LSU when the season is not even over yet.
Yeah, the big reason why you're kind of seeing some of these coaches announce that they're leaving or they're going to a new spot is because of the way that the schedule is laid out, where the main reason is recruiting. So you have your national day of signing. It usually happens during the bowl seasons. So it makes it tough for coaches when, you want to go to a new role, but you're not able to recruit your own guys because technically recruiting is happening during the middle of your playoff run. If you're going to a new team, you're not able to recruit your own players. So you kind of have to start with a different set of players that maybe you didn't want to bring in. So it goes back to recruiting. And that's why you see the Lane Kiffin stuff. Now, this is not the first time that Lane Kiffin has left the college football program controversially. If you
Really?
ask some Tennessee Volunteer fans about Lane Kiffin, they will not speak very highly about him because he was only there for a year and then left to go coach at USC after that. And let's just say he was not really well liked by Tennessee because he was coming in there, high hopes, saying, "Oh, we're gonna transform this program. We're gonna make sure it goes back to the years of when Peyton Manning was here and all this." And then he leaves after a year. Usually, you want your college football coach to be there 2-3 years so they could get the recruits and get everything going. And so this is where it's kind of eventually like it's the LSU job also just got interesting because Brian Kelly got let go, and there's a whole bunch of stuff about that in terms of like, was it like a justified termination? How much is he going to get paid? Because he's owed a lot of money, and Brian Kelly is not exactly the most well liked coach. If you go see some of the social media circles with Brian Kelly and how he tries to adapt for certain environments, but. In the case of Lane Kiffin, he's a very interesting guy. If you follow him on social media, he is the ultimate social media troll. Like he is not afraid to poke the fire. Like literally, like when he went to LSU, he posted a bunch of stuff about Ole Miss fans being upset at him leaving and him like getting on that plane to LSU and like everything. Like he is the ultimate troll. So he's been playing into it, but the thing with him again is like this is not the first time that he has gotten into this sort of situation, and I think there's a bit of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when it comes to Lane Kiffin because, as you mentioned, he's in the midst. Like this is Ole Miss's best season in years.
Yes,
like he really rebuilt that program and made it something.
That's what confuses me, is that you're going to build this program. Because look, trolling aside and all the moving from one year to the next to another team.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Lane Kiffin is a good football coach.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He wouldn't have gotten the LSU job if he wasn't a good football coach. So being even a great football coach, he could get away with all this BS of trolling and I'm going to take the jobs that seems, even though I've only been here for a year, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Now, he's a good football coach. So the fact that he brought Ole Miss to this point, part of probably make the college football playoffs and then just leaves right? And now you're left with Pete Golding, who got promoted to head coach at Ole Miss, to take
Yep.
over the team to go ahead in the playoffs, which obviously distractions and everything, it's going to probably have a huge factor on how Ole Miss does going forward in the college football playoffs. But yeah, that's the biggest thing of me that confusing. It's like imagine if you're coaching the Buffalo Bills and you're undefeated season and you're one game away from you go 17-0, and then all of a sudden you make the playoff and the coach goes, "You know what? I'm going to leave so I could go coach the 49ers."
Yeah.
Cuz, it's like, and I'm like, "Wait a minute." That's just how I was just like, and I know college football is different, I get it, but it was still very, very weird to me.
Yeah. It is very weird because, we have seen scenarios where coaches have left during a bowl season where I remember Coach Lincoln Riley, who now coaches at USC, funny enough, he left Oklahoma, during the bowl season, like just kind of up and at him out of there. But it goes again, it's similar in the sense that the reason why they leave early is because they want to get a head start on recruiting and getting their own players and being, boots on the ground, going into,
Right.
students, houses, meeting with the families, being like, hey, we want to bring you into the program.
So recruiting starts as soon as the season is over? Is that
So
how it
so
works?
so recruiting is throughout the season. That's the
Right.
thing. And then you
Okay.
have the national recruiting day, like the national signing day that happens. And the national signing day happens during bowl season. And
Which is
so
coming up right now, right? It's like
correct.
December, at the end of December.
Yeah, so let me find what national signing day is for 2026, but okay, so National Signing Day is February 4th, but there is like a bunch of recruiting that happens beforehand, like during
Right.
bowl season. And so, in order to get those recruits to lock in for February 4th, you have to be there during December, January. Like once the high school seasons are
Right.
done, got to get in there and get recruiting. So,
So
and
Lane
that's,
Kiffin needed to be at LSU as soon as possible in order for him to get the recruits that he wanted. So
yeah,
he doesn't end up being stuck with the recruits of whatever coaching staff was there before him.
yeah, the
Get
Brian Kelly
right.
regime that was there. So
Right.
that's why he left, but it's so unusual and so rare. And because LSU, like it's one of those top elite SEC programs, like it's a big gig for him. Like this is the biggest
Yeah.
head coaching gig he's gotten since he coached at USC when they were in the Pac-10 at that time, Pac-12. And so this is the biggest coaching gig, so that's why he left. But you got the Ole Miss fans that are upset because, as you mentioned, like they're in the middle of a big push right now. Like they
Right.
could win, they could go through the college football playoff right now and compete for a national championship. And you got Ole Miss that's going in there, and they're denying Kiffin going in there and coaching the rest of the season, mainly because he doesn't want to be like, you don't want to go in there and have a coach that you know is leaving, is going to go to LSU next season, all that buzz that comes into it. Plus, with everything with the transfer portal, you don't want to have all of a sudden all those guys follow Lane Kiffin to LSU and give
Right.
because it could be like another sort of recruiting method, right? It's like, all right, I'm going to finish out the rest of the year. I'm going to go to a championship, but it's also secretly a recruiting method for LSU so that when Kiffin goes over, a bunch of players transfer over. So it's a lot of different things. Personally, like the big thing that kind of goes back to is like, should they be changing stuff around when it comes to recruiting? And is this a general college football problem? I think it's a little bit of both. I think Lane Kiffin I think he could have stomached, waiting out on a recruiting class, see what he's got, and
Right.
utilize the transfer portal. But it's also a college football problem when you have this big recruiting season that happens during the middle of some key, bowl games and whatnot. I mean, the season hasn't even been over yet, and you're already hearing like Lane Kiffin's obviously the most prominent one, but you're already hearing about guys that are going in to be the head coach at Florida or the head coach at I know that Penn State was close to hiring a guy if last I
Mhm.
checked. So it's so wonky. That's what makes college football so different from everything else.
Right.
And so yeah, it's a big kerfuffle that's going on.
Do you think that this situation that we just saw with Lane Kiffin is going to force college football to uh, fix, quote unquote, these little loopholes of whatnot to happen.
It's going to be tough
Right.
because that you're relying on the NCAA to do something, and the
Right.
NCAA is practically incompetent in my mind. Like
Very much so. Yeah.
like they could have controlled so much of the NIL stuff before they were forced to have it change because of the regulations that came in from the government and all that,
Right.
and the bill they passed through. They had all this time to make these changes and be prepared for it when those lawsuits were coming in, and they didn't adapt. And now you're seeing too, like the college football playoff, it's still ever expanding. You're already hearing proposal about expanding to 16 teams, right? And
Mm-hmm.
having a 16 team playoff or a 32 team playoff, which I think is too much. I know there's 140, tier one programs in college football in the States, but like, I still like having like an 8 to 16. 16 is like my absolute limit, but that's a story for a different day.
Right.
In terms of this, like, it's tough to say because it just feels like the NCAA is sleeping behind the wheel with everything that's changing, and then they're falling behind, and then there's something new that happens, and they continue to fall behind. So I wish I could come on here and say yes, they'll fix it, but it's the NCAA, and I have high doubts that they'll be able to fix it quick enough because with television deals, with a lot of these conferences, they have their own individual television deals as opposed to a giant NCAA deal with these networks. Like the SEC has its own television deal with ESPN.
Right.
The Big 12 and the Big 10. I believe it's the Big 12 that has the deal with Fox Sports. So
Big Ten,
or
I think, because I
yeah,
watched.
the Big 10. Yeah, big noon. You got the big
Yeah.
noon Saturday afternoon,
Yeah.
whatnot. So these conferences have their own individual deals with these networks. So it becomes even more fragmented, right? Like you can't have it be unified under the NCAA's. Like, all right, the NCAA is negotiating these TV deals. They're not. Notre Dame, the college itself, has its own special deal with NBC Sports to have their football games broadcast. Like it's very, very different when it comes to the media landscape. So
Right.
even if they wanted to have things changed, it would take years to get it done. Like it would have to be the remainder of the deals that are already in place. Like Oklahoma and Texas announced they wanted to go into the SEC a few years ago, but they couldn't just hop in the next season. They had to wait out the rest of the television deal that they were in their conference before they went and joined the SEC. So it's going to take a while if there is any sort of changes that's happening in college football.
Interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk a little bit more about college football. The latest rankings just came out today. Ohio State, no surprise, 12-0, ranked number one. Indiana, 12-0, ranked number two. Georgia, 11-1. Oregon, 11-1. Texas Tech, 11-1 in fifth. And Ole Miss rise. Actually, I said numbers at 7. They were 7. Now they're 6. Texas A&M, 7th. Oklahoma, 10-2 and 8th. And Notre Dame and Alabama in 10. So I who do you think's? I think we all know the answer to this. Who has been the powerhouse this year? Ohio State, to me, is the best team in college football right now. I don't think it's even close. I might be wrong, but their defense is so good. And I mean, I watched them dismantle Michigan last Saturday. And after Michigan winning the last 4 years of that matchup, it's one of the biggest matchups in college football, one of the biggest rivalries. And it wasn't even close this past Saturday. They completely demolished them. So what's your thoughts going into this Saturday's conference championship? So this Saturday we have some Friday, we have some matchups, but the real important matchups, which has an implication on the standings, I guess, going forward for the college football, you have BYU ranked 11 against Texas Tech at number 5, the Big 12 championship. You have the SEC championship, Georgia versus Alabama, 3 versus 10. Then you got the Big 10 championship, Indiana versus Ohio State, which that's the big game right there. And then you have the ACC championship, Duke versus Virginia. I'm not even going to ask you about why there's certain teams not playing in the conference championships, most likely because they're not in any conference. I don't even want to get into it. Let's talk about the biggest game here, Indiana, Ohio State, because I think this is really a big opportunity for Indiana to make a statement here. I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, I think Ohio State is pretty much unbeatable this year. I might be wrong. I've seen a lot happen in college football, but give me your takes so far in this college football season and with the conference championships this Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it all kind of plays out. There's some good matchups here that are coming up. But this Indiana Ohio State game, I mean, Indiana made such big strides last year, but who could have guessed Indiana would be right up there at tied for with Ohio State with an undefeated
Right.
record.
Because they're a basketball college, right? Indiana.
That's what they were coming in with. They were a
Right.
basketball college, but boy, some of the players that at Indiana that they've got there, it's fascinating how they've been able to put together. And then obviously you have Curt Cignetti, the head coach there, that he comes into Indiana, he just establishes a culture. And right away, like if he's not the winner of the coach of the year or college football, I don't know who else could be at that point. Like he has really just taken in and taken control of that program.
You know who it's not going to be? Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, it's not going to be Lane Kiffin after the stuff that he was pulling. Yeah, he might get some votes, but he will not be. It will not be the overwhelming majority, that's for sure. But really, the player that I think everybody's got their eyes on at Indiana was Fernando Mendoza, who's in that Heisman contention.
Right.
I went and watched that Penn State game, and that's a tough environment. I know Penn State wasn't great this year. Penn State had a lot of high expectations coming into the season, but you obviously saw how that turned out. James Franklin getting let go as head coach, and really just a faltering Drew Aller doesn't seem like that sort of guy that they were hyping him up to be potential, high draft pick. But still, it's an environment there at Penn State with the whiteout and everything that it can be loud. And I remember watching that game, and they chatted with Curt Cignetti, and they're like, this Indiana team hasn't won in Penn State in however long, right? It's like super long. And Cignetti, like without skipping a beat, says, well, they haven't faced this team yet. And it's like, it's that sort of attitude, that mindset, right, that he's been able to put in. And Fernando Mendoza has looked so strong in his outings, obviously in there for the Heisman as well. I'd be shocked at this point. I mean, if Indiana is able to pull off a victory over Ohio State, like obviously that's their toughest test yet will be Ohio State and how they fare against them, especially at this level of this championship. But if they beat Ohio State this Saturday night, boy, I think a lot of people are going to look at that Indiana program and say, maybe this is a new program that could take over college football here because of what Curt Cignetti has done over there. So very interesting football matchup, but like what you said, like they face some good opponents. I think some opponents that have kind of gone under the radar in terms of the schedule. There's a reason why they're number 2, right? So like they've beaten some teams. They beat Oregon earlier this year, and Oregon's ranks. They updated the rankings since we started chatting, but like in the previous rankings, they were up at 6. And they've beaten Penn State on the road, which is not easy to do. They've beaten Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's not ranked, but that's generally a good football program that's there. They dominated UCLA. They dominated Michigan State, and they beat Iowa, and Iowa's known for their strong defenses there as well. So it's not like they've, been taking on these tomato cans going into this matchup, right? So it's going to be fascinating. I still think Ohio State is the safe bet because they just look so good out there. That defense, as you mentioned, is just a killer. I mean, you saw from week 1, the way they had Arch Manning running around the pocket.
It was crazy.
It's just like, oh, this is a defense to behold right there. So it's going to be tough. I do think Ohio State will win, but I think it's going to be a closer matchup than people think it will be. Like, I don't think this is going to be an Ohio State domination game or anything like that. I think it's going to be an entertaining football game, just based on some of the teams that Indiana has faced heading into this conference matchup.
Right. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting this Saturday, 8 p.m. I'm definitely going to try to tune in to watch that matchup. I'm also going to try to watch Georgia versus Alabama. Obviously, Alabama is a household name when it comes to college football, and it's ranked 10. You normally see them more on top of the list, like 4th, 5th, even last year, being ranked 10 now a little bit. They might be able to make some ground if they can beat a Georgia team that's ranked 3 right now. So it's going to be fun to watch. One last thing to let you go. What did you see from Arch Manning this year at college football? And because a lot of I know everybody was expecting him to have a big year and him being ready to maybe to be the for the draft next year in the NFL and everything. Like, I don't think he played up to his expectation. I'm not wrong about that, right? I think he
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
had some hiccups and the team didn't really play up to expectation this year.
Yeah, it's a tale of two halves right now with Arch Manning because that first half, it was looking rough. I
Right.
was wondering, like, some of the outings he had last year, like, again, not not like big powerhouses like Ohio State that he had to face that first week, but some of the outings he had, it was like, all right, this is clearly a talented QB that's just kind of waiting for his shot. And the Mannings like to do everything a little bit differently when it comes to how they handled themselves. I mean, you see it with Peyton. Peyton stayed another year at Tennessee. Eli Manning stayed for another year at Ole Miss when he was a
Right.
young college quarterback. So I was going into this season thinking, like, even if he lit it up this year, I was still feeling like Arch Manning was going to stay another year and play at least 2 years of college before going into the NFL. But now the way that he played, especially that first half of the season, like he's definitely staying another year. There's no doubt in my mind that he should he's not going to test trying to get into the NFL draft this year at all. And I think it just goes back to I think he started to like it was weird watching him in the first half because there wasn't this comfort level that you usually see with a Manning quarterback, especially
Right.
a Peyton Manning. It seemed like he was forcing balls downfield and he was trying to rely on his talent a little bit too much, if that makes any sense, where it's the Carson Wentz effect, where Carson Wentz just played hero ball so many times because he had a good arm and he's like, oh, I can save this play and I can extend this play. And I think it was starting to
Right.
get to Arch a little bit. And in the second half, he has settled down a lot. He's not the first overall pick, destiny that was kind of being laid out at the start of the season or anything like that. But I think he started to settle in a little bit more. I think once the spotlight kind of got off of him a little bit, he started to be like, okay, I can grow a little bit as a quarterback. Um, and there were a lot of questions on some of the play calling for Steve Sarkisian, if he was kind of utilizing Arch Manning to his strengths, if he was just trying to force him into situations he shouldn't be in. And so I think he's better this year. I think he's in the second half, especially. Again, I think he's going to have another year in college football. Maybe he'll have more of a better year next year. I think throwing him into the Wolves against Ohio State really kind of,
Yeah.
really kind of lit something, right? And was like, maybe it's a little too soon, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. But we'll see. Again, he's had a much better second half than the first half, but he's
Right.
not going to go into the NFL draft this year.
Yeah. That's probably best for him if he can get another year of college ball under his belt before
Yeah.
he becomes draft eligible. Let's move on to some NFL. Let's start with the big question I got you on right now. A lot of things I want to touch to. There's obviously week 13. We're about to go into week 14. We're getting to the point where like I feel like this season has been like even deep into the season where we are right now after 13 weeks, there's so many question marks. Even with the best teams, you're like, oh, they're so good. And we sit here week after week and we talk about certain teams, and then boom, the Rams
Yeah.
go ahead and they lose, and you're like, maybe the Rams are not as good as we thought, or are they? And it was just but nonetheless, let's talk about, in your opinion, who is currently, after 13 weeks of NFL football, who is the best team right now? The best team in the NFL right now going into week 14,
Man, I was going to
according
come
to
in and
Zach
say
McGibbon here.
I was going to say the Rams before that Panthers game. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was like, this Rams team looks well put together, and we were talking about them throughout the season as like, for a team that's based in LA, they seem to be so under the radar, right? Like, it's
Every year, I
unbelievable.
feel like it's the same thing, right? With
Yeah.
The Rams and the Chargers, no matter how good they are, you're like, like how good are they? Because I never hear
Yeah.
about them.
Yeah, the
It's
Chargers
weird.
are having a decently all right season. They're behind Denver right
They're eight
now.
and four.
Um, yeah, they're not a bad football team. There's obviously some questions about Justin Herbert and his hand
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah,
but
he
we'll see
broke
how
his
that
hand,
goes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be a big question. I think right now it's just so tough to say because there's just so much parity in
Right.
the football. I don't mean parity like what's that Leslie Nielsen film parody? Like I'm
Naked Gun and a
talking
Half.
Naked Gun.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm talking parody. Like everybody seems to be kind of at a certain level.
Like
I don't even.
today, the question I saw everybody on every football show talk about is the Patriots the best team in the NFL after winning last night? And
Yeah,
you sent me what you sent me about an
yeah,
hour and a half ago, where it's hard to crown them the best team in the NFL right now when you look at the teams they've beaten and the teams they're about to play. It's
yeah,
for sure the easiest a schedule of any other team. And then
yeah.
you're let to you're going you got to wonder, like, are they that good? Like, look, I'm not going to sit here and argue that Drake May is not a good quarterback. In his second
Hmm.
year, he's phenomenal.
Yep.
MVP talk, he's one of the favorites to win MVP, just like Stafford was before last week, but maybe his stock dropped, maybe not. He's still, I think, I think Stafford before this weekend's game had 30 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and then he threw
Right.
2 interceptions in the first half, which was as much as the whole season. But Drake May just seems to be so calm and collected and comfortable in this Vrabel scheme and this Vrabel offense. It's crazy, but I'm not at all have the Patriots as the best team
Me
simply
neither.
because you have to look at the teams they've beaten, and you've said it before. You have to beat the not so good team. The
Yep. The
teams you're
good teams
supposed to
beat the
beat,
bad teams.
right.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to beat them, you're supposed to beat them. That's fine. My
Mm.
only concern with that is that once they get into the playoff and they're forced to play a team that's really good,
Yep.
and they haven't faced an opposition like that throughout the years, they haven't been pushed, they haven't been into real trouble, how are they going to be able to react? It's not going to be an instinct. So that's, to
Right.
me, is the issue. It's like a team going undefeated, not really understanding how it feels to lose for an entire season. And after that, you go into the playoff and it's a completely different ballgame and you end up
Yep.
losing. But yeah, for me, the reason why I asked a question on today's episode of Blue Collar Sports is because today I saw a lot of people talking about the Patriots and are they the best team in the NFL?
Yeah, and I just can't say yes to it. I
Yeah,
just
me
can't.
neither.
Like I think, I to obviously there is my philosophy of good teams beat the bad teams, but they face a
Hmm.
lot of bad teams this year.
Yeah,
Like I'm sure I know there's some Patriots fans that are probably tuning in and saying, "Well, what about the Bills on Monday night?" It's like, all right,
right,
one. Like you
right.
got one. It's like you got to give me a little bit more. And you got to do how the schedule lays out sometimes. So, the schedule is kind of out of their control and how the other teams perform.
Yeah,
So they have to go with what they've got. So I'm going to give them some slack on that. I'm not going to be, I am laughing at the Patriots fans that are talking about all this like anguish that they had to go through in the
yeah,
rebuilding. Like they hadn't gone through 20 years of success
bro.
beforehand, right?
I
So
think you
it's
could have.
like,
I think you could have suffered a few more years.
yeah,
Uh,
I think you've been okay.
right
As a
after
Cowboys
winning
fan, we
six
haven't had
championship.
success.
Yeah,
Yeah, as a Cowboys fan, we haven't had success since 1995, and we're still waiting for that success to come
I,
back. They could wait a couple more years, but I think in the case of the Patriots, like there are things to like about this Patriots team for sure,
oh no,
and
yeah, don't get me. Yeah, for sure.
and and I think you make a great point about Drake May. It's like he's a second year quarterback. Sometimes you hear about the sophomore slump, right?
Right.
Especially when it comes to quarterbacks. In this case, he's been able to elevate his play and be at a better level for the quarterback. So I don't think that means nothing either. Like there's been plenty of times we've seen second year quarterbacks in the NFL have this drop off. We were saying it
Right.
a couple years ago with CJ Stroud. All of a sudden, he has the second year that's just not as good as his first year. Everybody was thinking he was this, future elite potential MVP type quarterback in his first year, the way that he was playing his rookie year. And then he has just not been able to get back to that level since that
Mm.
first year. So I think it means something that Drake May has taken that next step to be that sort of franchise QB for the New England Patriots. And obviously, they've got a lot to work with. A 10-game winning streak is nothing to scoff at either.
Absolutely.
It's just I can't come on here and say they're the best team in the NFL because I still need to see a little bit more. And unfortunately for them, and that video I showed you, it's like you look at their remaining opponents
Right.
that they have this year.
We might
It's
not
like,
have an answer the whole season.
Yeah, the real question will be probably in the playoffs when
Right.
they clinch the conference and they'll get the division bye and they'll get into the second round. That's when we'll see, okay, what is this Patriots team? What can they deliver when, they face off against a team that's a good football team? They're going to pound right back at them. Like it was funny just like hearing everybody saying, "Oh, this is the best team in football," after beating the New York Giants, where their kicker stubbed his toe
Okay.
trying to kick the ball last night.
He
As
said
we're
he pulled out, by
recording.
the way. He said he saw the ball moving under the guy's finger and he
Yes.
pulled out, but listen, you missed by about 3 feet there. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that
It'd
was
be
ugly.
one thing if he shanked it, right?
Right.
Like if he just shanked it, it's
Just
like,
fucking
and
shank it.
I, I understand. I understand. Like the ball moves or whatever. It's colder during that time,
Right.
but like you said, he missed it like by like 3 feet. It's like, come on, man. Like we all have television sets. We could see what happened there. So,
Can you imagine a situation where the Pats get the bye in the AFC, and then the Chiefs squeak in the wild card, win in the wild card weekend, and end up playing the Patriots in their first matchup? That would be and to end up beating the Patriots. Because then
yeah,
if the Chiefs make the playoffs, then I think all bets are off, as much as they suck this year and they're 6-6 right now and they're not
yeah,
even in the playoffs. Whatever. If they can find a way to make it, and you got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Kelsey, all these guys, yeah, good luck. But
yeah.
I'll name a team as far as best team in the NFL. If I had to put money on it, somebody had a gun in my head, I'd probably have to say the Denver Broncos.
Mm,
I think the Denver Broncos are a really, really good football team right now. And Bo Nix is another quarterback in his sophomore year, just having a tremendous year at quarterback. Is it Sean Payton, the coach, and in
yep,
Denver, right? He
yep,
did a phenomenal job with that team. Um, they're 10-2. They've won 9 in a row. The Patriots have won 10 in a row. Like, they're right there. And that did you see that throw he made? Where he was almost down on one knee and he just
yeah,
slightly torqued himself just so he could get the ball away right for a touchdown. Dude, that might have been one of the best throws I've seen in a long time. So
yeah.
athletic. And I'm a huge Bo Nix fan. I'm also a huge Drake
Drake
May
May.
fan.
There you
I
go.
was getting excited there. But yeah, Broncos to me are a good team. And I'm going to name another team that I think should get some consideration right now. Their record might not show it, but as of right now, I think the 49ers are a really good football team.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the chaos they've gone through this year, with Mac Jones starting 3 or 4 games and winning all of the games, like we've spoke about this, like, is there a team where you can just interchange the quarterback and there's the same exact football team, no matter who's at QB1? It's crazy, right? From
Yep.
Garoppolo to Trey Lance to Trey Lance wasn't okay. That's a bad example. Might be the dark horse there, the
Right.
black sheep. But Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, and you have Kittle. You have such a good team, and I don't
Yep.
think people expected this from them this year. Number one, Deebo Samuel wasn't there anymore, and there was some question mark as far as Christian McCaffrey was concerned because everybody thought he was injury prone and can he make it a whole year? He starts the season off with some calf injuries, and we're not even know if he's going to make week 1, and he's just having a tremendous year at running back. Christian McCaffrey is just crazy year, and the 49ers are what, not 8-4, I believe, is their record. And
I know they're right in the mix there with the Seahawks and the Rams for that NFC
right.
West spot.
So they're in the NFC West. They're third in the West. That's crazy. That's the
Yep.
craziest thing behind the Rams and the Seahawks. Seahawks are another team that are really, really good.
Yep.
But the 49ers have won 3 in a row. They're 9-4. And I think they can compete in the NFC with any team. It's kind of open right now if you look at the NFC. The Eagles, I'm not confident in the Eagles. The Cowboys are on there. By the way, Cowboys are another team. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
3 in a row.
That's
If they
right.
beat the Lions this Thursday, I'm all in
Mhm.
on the Cowboys. They might win every single game going forward for the rest of the year if they can beat
Yep.
the Lions here.
it's the Cowboys have, the Lions is going to be the big matchup, but if
Right.
they could beat the Lions, they have the Vikings after that, which, the way the Vikings are playing, it's not exact. It's going to be, I like the Cowboys' chances in that
Yeah.
matchup. That would be the Chargers, and it again will depend on how long that injury for Justin Herbert will be, but I think that's a winnable football game. Then the last two games of the season are the Commanders, and then the final game is the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are some winnable football games for
Absolutely.
sure. And so I look at that, and like what you mentioned, going to be Thursday night, a very interesting Thursday night there, Stefan, in terms of I will be sitting down and watching this Lions game against the Cowboys and seeing how Dak Prescott could do. I am currently on the high right now of beating the two Super Bowl contenders in a matter of 4 or 5
in 5
days.
days, that's insane, right?
Yeah, we can ignore the Chiefs' record in this, and we can ignore that the Eagles are not exactly flying high right now, but it's still,
Again, they take there's an opportunity there, right? And they've taken it. Like you said, that they won the games they should win. And no one was saying they were going to beat the Chiefs. No one was saying they were going to beat the Eagles. And in a 5-day span, they go and they beat the Chiefs and they beat the Eagles. And now they're 6-4 and was it 6-5-1? They're second behind. I'm telling you, there's something special. Jerry Jones, everybody's loving him now. It's like, he's did a great job. Look, I'm a big fan. I love what they're doing. I want George Pickens to have the big year this year and have the big contract because I think he deserves it. Again, Cowboys are really good. Broncos are really good. 49ers are really good. But I'm not ready to pick who's the best. It's just too difficult right now. There's just too many things. Too many teams seem to be on the same level of really great, but not like really good, but not great. I need to see something, right? So
it's tough because, like, even with that Carolina loss, I was still kind of leaning towards the Rams because I think Carolina might be a better team than we're giving them credit for.
Yes,
they've beaten some good teams this year.
Yes, the way they ran the ball on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
like, come on, that's old school football. And if they could implement that game plan going forward, they could win. They could keep winning some football games.
Yeah,
like
they've not been like they beat the Rams, they beat the Packers earlier this year, they beat my Dallas Cowboys, which trust me, I was not happy about that, but they did beat that Cowboys team. And then they've beaten some teams that they probably should have beat in, the Dolphins, the Falcons, they really crushed through. But I think a lot of people's expectations of the Panthers were pretty low this year, considering. I don't think anybody had them at a winning record in this point of the season.
Absolutely not. And they have a bye next week.
Yep.
Like,
they've got the bye, and then they'll go back to the Saints.
The Saints,
they'll
Buccaneers.
have the Buccaneers twice, and then they'll have the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are going to be tough. But but considering the division that they're in, like, this is not exactly like, the Buccaneers, I still think are going to win that division, but I don't think it's going to be runaway.
No.
Because the Buccaneers are kind of a walking infirmary right now in terms of all the injuries that are happening there. Similar to the Chiefs, funny enough, where I think you make a great point about the Chiefs, where, like, considering their record and considering the amount of injuries that they've had to go through, the fact that they're in this position, like battling for number one in the NFC West,
it's crazy,
I think
right?
It's pretty impressive.
Right.
It's pretty impressive. And it's classic 49ers, right? I feel like we've been saying this the last 5 years, like, man, if they didn't have all these injuries, this is a really good football team. But that's kind of how they are at this point. But going back to, like, that Panthers game, like, I think the Panthers are a better team than we're giving them credit for. And like what you mentioned, that running game is really solid. Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle, former running back for the Dallas Cowboys. That's a good duo that they've got there in the backfield. I'm still leaning towards the Rams. I think the Rams just have the better overall team. I still think Matthew Stafford's been playing at such a high level for them. And that defense in Los Angeles is also just a really solid defense. And so I look at all of that, and I still want to lead towards the Rams, but really that NFC West is fascinating in terms of the quality of teams, because as you mentioned, Seattle's very much in the running there. Sam Darnold has looked really good. The 49ers, as you mentioned, have looked really solid. So that's still a strong division there. But like what you said, I really don't think there's just so much parity in the NFL right now that it's really tough to say, oh yeah, this is clearly the number one team in the NFL.
Let's talk Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Yes, I said it. the Bengals and Joe Burrow. They got Joe Burrow back last week, and he looked like he didn't miss a beat. It was crazy, right? Great performance last week. I know their record, they're still, third, 4-8. I mean, look, the chances of making the playoffs are really, really slim. But they beat the Ravens 32-14. I mean, it wasn't even close. Burrow looked great. They're playing the Bills, the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns. So maybe the Bills are going to be a hard team to beat, but it's always a good matchup. Josh Allen versus Joe Burrow. It's going to be a crazy matchup. They're going to come. He's going to come to play Burrow. It's going to be a shootout, most likely, high-scoring game. Look, I wouldn't put it past the Bengals, right? I know their defense is it's their bad.
The shits.
Their shit. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, the Bills have been up and down. They haven't been very consistent this season. And then you go against the Ravens, which, again, the Ravens are inconsistent. Defense is inconsistent. Lamar Jackson, I think, is playing injured, if you ask me. There's just something not right with him this year. He's not his self. And then you got the Dolphins and the Cardinals and the Browns, which are 3 winnable games. So let's say they win 4 out of 5 of their 4 last games and end up, what would it be? It would be 8-9. They probably wouldn't make the playoff. It'd be a really good push. They'd have to win. They'd have to win out, and they'd probably have to hope that the Steelers and the Ravens don't win a game for the remainder of the season, or a 1 or 2 games. It's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. But I was just happy to see Joe Burrow back, because I think the Bengals are a really great football team when he's there. Offense, obviously, the defense needs some work, which I really hope, for the Bengals' sake, that it is something that is that they do something about it in the offseason. I expected them to do something this offseason, and the whole offseason was spent, trying to sign one guy, and ended up, not really making any difference this year. So I don't know. Do you think, so if you had to put a number on it, percentage-wise, do you think the Bengals have any sort of chance to make the playoffs now that Joe Burrow is back?
No, I don't.
Right.
I don't think so. I want to. God, would it be a story, right? And that would, talk about something for the legacy for the Bengals, but I think it's too little too late at this point. The reason why they traded for Joe Flacco is to try and get into a point where Burrow could come in and potentially take over in those final games so that you could sneak into a playoff spot. But I just don't see it. I think it's tough. Big win over Baltimore, of course, as you mentioned. And, it's great to see Burrow back still in a top form. You always worry with the injuries that he's gotten, that there's always that concerns, he's going to come back and he's just going to look off. But he looks ready to go. That guy is determined, ready to go. I'm not saying right off the season or anything like that. Like a lot of these teams at this point, if you're the Bengals, I think you just want to be the team that spoils the other team, and you want to try and finish on a high note. But if I'm Cincinnati, I'm going to try and be that team that plays spoiler to Buffalo, or try and play spoiler to Baltimore again, because they face them again in this next stretch of games.
Yeah, exactly.
So I look at all that, and I just say, it's just too little too late, I say. If Burrow had come back a little bit sooner, and we're talking about him 2 weeks in and beating the Ravens, and they're instead of 4-8, they're 5-7 or 6-6, then I think we've got a conversation here. But in this case, I think it's just a little too far out of reach. Trust me, I want to see it. I'm sure as a Steelers fan, you don't want to see it. You want to keep your spot in the division.
Listen,
but
at this point, we're going to talk about my Steelers next. But at this point, I mean, I'd love to see Joe Burrow squeak into the playoff just for the story at this point, because
to send a message to the Steelers to maybe try and do something.
I mean, come on. Sad days right now. I feel like I'm a Cowboys fan early in the season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to come on here and be like, so Zach, how are the Cowboys? Oh, you tell me. Yeah. I don't want to fucking talk about them.
Let's talk about the Steelers. Let's go there. Let's get it off. Yep. Let's get it over and done with. Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, 6-6. Just a horrendous performance this past week against the Bills. I mean, you could chalk it off to the Bills are really good. They're not. They're good. They're
Yeah.
great. No, it was just a shitty offensive performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their defense is not a Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I don't know what to tell you. I spend my whole Sundays just sitting there hoping that the defense can stop the run. And the Bills ran the same goddamn play over and over and over and over and got 8 yards, 12 yards, 15 yards, 40 yards. I was just like, can someone tackle somebody for the love of God? Like, I couldn't understand how this defense went from one of the best. They had a game this season, I forget which one. They looked like the best defense. They had 5 takeaways. Do you remember the game?
Was that the Jets game earlier this season, or was that I am unsure.
No, it was
No?
another game. They had 5 takeaways. I'm like, the defense is back. This is what we need. Aaron Rodgers looked like he was 58 years old, bleeding from the nose, broken wrist. He's still out there trying to sling it. I'll give him credit, but man, it was definitely heartbreaking it was just sad to see my team perform like that. Seeing Aaron Rodgers on the sideline with just this look on his face like, what the like, it was not good. And now after the game, the crowd in Pittsburgh chanting, "Fire Tomlin, fire Tomlin." And I was like, you know what? It might be time. It might be time. I actually thought for one moment that they would consider firing him this week. Late in the season, I'm like, you're either gonna have to make some sort of big splash, something big to try to wake this team up. Especially on the defense. Look, Aaron Rodgers is still what, 40? Is his birthday today. What did he turn, 43 or 42 years old?
Something like that.
Right.
Yeah, he's got to be in his early 40s at this point.
He's
40. It's 42.
He's not playing bad football this season. The quarterback situation in Pittsburgh is a lot better than it was last year. Let's just put it like that, right?
Right.
The thing that's missing, obviously, is wide receivers. You get DK Metcalf, and then you got no one. Guess what? They grabbed somebody off waivers today, and in case people didn't know, they claimed Adam Thielen from the Vikings, which he was a great quarterback 3 years ago.
Receiver.
Sorry, a great wide
quarterback.
I'm so fucking flustered right now.
You're fired up. I got you. No worries.
He's really good wide receiver back in the day, but things haven't really worked out in Minnesota. When he was with the Panthers, he was really good. Was it Panthers?
Well, he started with Minnesota and then went to the Panthers, then went back to Minnesota.
Right. That's it. I was like, wait a minute, didn't he play for? Okay.
Yeah.
And so didn't end up being great for him. Goes on waivers, Pittsburgh. Now, I'll take anything. I'll take any wide receiver at this point to try to help DK Metcalf a little bit, Yeah. Is he going to be the savior? No. I don't think it's going to be a huge change. I don't think Aaron Rodgers right now is celebrating his 42nd birthday today going, I can't believe we got this guy. That's the guy I wanted. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think Tomlin, I think this is, if Pittsburgh doesn't, and look, it's hard to believe that this football team is going to be any different going forward, because you don't get at week 13, week 14, and then all of a sudden become a brand new football team where everything starts firing. It's a bit late in the season for this. I think this is the team that we have for this year. If their only chance of making the playoffs here is really if the Ravens can't get their shit together and they start losing games and Pittsburgh really just hangs on and wins the division. Because if they don't win the division, they don't make the playoffs, and then I don't think Tomlin makes it. And even if they do make the playoffs, I don't think they have much of a chance to winning a playoff game again. So I'm sad to say that Tomlin, this is probably the end for Tomlin in Pittsburgh, which, look, I don't feel that bad for him because he'll get a head coaching job like this on any other team. They're probably going to line up for him. But yeah, I just had to get it off my chest and just vent a little bit from what I saw because it was really sad. Really, really sad.
Yeah. James Cook running for 144 yards, 32 carries in that game. I mean, it just, as you mentioned, it was the same play over and over and over again. Just cut and then find the gap and follow your blocks, and you got a 30, 40-yard run in front of you to get some
I saw defensive
plays going.
players throw their hands up every single time. I'm like, fucking do
they're
something.
Like, they're doing it again.
Do it
Why
something.
can't we figure this play out? So
it's like that meme there that pokes it's like, do something. And the guy pokes with the stick and he goes, do something, dude. That's just,
come on,
fucking do something. Yeah.
So
it's sad.
I will say, I was hearing your talk about the wide receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like they need some more wide receiver depth, like it's just DK Metcalf. What I'm
running back Gainwell is their number 2 receiver right now.
Which is crazy. Which is absolutely bonkers. Not great. And this isn't exactly Marshall Faulk in the greatest show on turf either that's out there. So, what I'm hearing here, Stefan, is that you need like a transformational wide receiver that can go in and be like I'm thinking like a George Pickens type here, Stefan. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm thinking like they need a George Pickens to be on the other side with DK Metcalf, so that you could offset it and then let George Pickens do George Pickens things. I don't know.
I wish they had a guy like that. Oh, wait a minute.
Right. Look, Stefan, you know how many times I had to hear that with the Micah Parsons thing throughout this season? If only they had somebody like Micah Parsons on there. So it feels good to bring it back on somebody else. Right. I'm sorry it had to be you, Stefan, but
I know.
That's just how it goes.
It is. Look, that's why I'm slowly becoming that's why I'm slowly starting to love the Cowboys a little bit more. Because George Pickens is a big thing. Look, I was a huge
I'm
Pickens
sorry to
fan.
hear that, first of all, that you were slowly becoming a Cowboys fan.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I'm still Steelers diehard. I like him a little bit more. All right.
Yeah.
I'm like running behind I'm like running behind the wagon right now, going like, "Hey, wait for me! I want to see it too."
Yeah, I want to share. I love how you're like, no. Let's be clear. I'm not being this fan. Like, let's be clear. I get it. I'm like, no, please don't. Like, trust me. I've been on this thing. I've been on this ride. I can't get out. I'm too far in.
My blood pressure can't take it anymore. I'm done. I'm okay.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but get ready because Mike Tomlin is going to pull some voodoo magic and somehow you're going to get another winning season. You'll be 9-8 again, and you'll win the division, and then you'll be eliminated in the first round. So get fired up for that when that happens again.
We'll end up facing the Chiefs in the first game of the wild card, and then get our ass handed.
And then the Chiefs will like win handily, and they'll be like, "The Chiefs are back! Right. Like the Chiefs are ready to take over the Super Bowl." Yeah, get fired up, right? Yeah. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I'm here sipping tea from my Steelers cup.
There you go.
It's
I think I actually have a similar mug to that as the Dallas Cowboys mug.
Yeah, my son bought it to me for my birthday this year, and I was like, oh, that's nice. But
very nice.
Look, it's just I needed to get it out. Hopefully the season's not over. Tomorrow I'm gonna wake up, I'll be a bit more positive about it, and maybe I'll pray about it, and maybe God will listen to me and say, you know what? You deserve a few wins here. So let's hope.
Here's your winning season.
Right. I had the Cowboys listed, but I think we spoke about the Cowboys early on. So before we move forward to the last topic, which is the Tarik Skubal situation in Detroit and this contract negotiation, I want to just invite people that are listening to subscribe to SVG TV on YouTube. If you haven't done so yet, check us out on YouTube, SVG TV. It's Blue Collar Sports. We're also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Go ahead and subscribe. It greatly appreciate. It would help us give us a little bit more exposure, help us out with our numbers, and get this out to more people so that we could do more of this and get better at this, especially on my side. I'm Savage Paulson on Instagram. He's Zach McGibbon Media on Instagram. Zach also has This Is Wrestling podcast available on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify. You guys on Spotify?
That's right.
Right.
So if you want to hear Savage Paulson style rants about, in this case, about professional wrestling, you should listen to the latest episode of This Is Wrestling.
I really think you guys should listen to This Is Wrestling, especially the latest episode, and feel the love that Zach has for WWE. And I will say that I did agree. There's one thing I will say about what you said is, I did agree that the whole referee thing with the Cena and Mysterio, where he didn't count because he's like, you lied to me, so I'm not gonna count. I'm like, you just ruined the whole spot that the two girls just did for you. Like they just went into the ring, manhandled John Cena, which was a bit ridiculous to me, but still, they still did it. And then you're not gonna get the near fall because of this, because you're all of a sudden has do your job. I did agree.
Getting the patch and pointing the patch. Right. Look here, buddy. I'm a WWE referee. I lay down the law here. So.
I will say this after watching Raw yesterday, that it does seem that they're finally pulling the plug on maybe giving Braun Breaker that push that you've been asking for. I think that the episode of Raw, which is the 25th anniversary, I forget what it is there, 30th, or there's an anniversary of some sort for Monday Night Raw. I would not be surprised if Braun Breaker wins the title going forward. Any idea who the masked man was that ran into the ring?
I believe it's Austin Theory,
right? Based
on the rumors that initially he was going to be in the match, but then stuff got changed around. Like that's my thought process on who the masked man was. I don't know how far you got in the episode about my thoughts on that too. About having
I didn't get that far. Don't ruin it. I'll listen to the rest of the episode.
All right. You might hear me at the end just be like, "What did I do to deserve this show?" Right. Like that's like literally like looking up in the stars. But I'll say Austin Theory is what I'm thinking it is.
The other name I heard was Montez Ford, which I don't see it making a little bit more sense as well. I will say this: I saw a lot of names getting thrown around, and here's what I told my wife. And I don't think there's one detail of the whole thing that people need to realize: the speed in which he climbed that cage and flew down, kicked, and then flew back up and jumped. Ain't nobody over the age of 35 going up and down that fast. I'm telling you right now. It ain't Randy Orton. It ain't Seth Rollins. There ain't nobody over the age of 35 that is that fast going up the cage. It's not Jericho.
It wasn't Jericho.
He'd still be climbing that cage right now if it was Chris Jericho. All right. He could barely.
He might have hit a "come on, baby" after that too, and then gone out of the ring.
He wouldn't have never elevated that high on that curb stomp to hit that thing. It's a young guy with a lot of energy, a lot of explosiveness, a lot of athleticism. Ain't nobody over the age of 35 going that. I'm telling you right now. All right. From experience, you ain't going that fast up the cage. But I will give WWE this, though they have been able to create some sort of attention and not being able to figure out really who it is, which is rare in today's age of social media where there's no real secret. So I will give it that the element of surprise during Survivor Series. I did not expect that. And also the fact that we're sitting here 3 days later and there's still no answer on who it is, right? There's a lot of speculation, but there's no answer. But back to Braun Breaker. I don't understand how his neck is not broken, by the way.
I know.
Holy shit. Like I saw that bump. I was like, because I've been dealing with that's what ended my career basically. And I'm like, bro, my neck would be wretched, right? I'd be broken. Like it's insane that he was walking on Raw yesterday But
Yep.
I think they're finally giving him that push that he deserves. So it's at
Yep.
least making me tune in for the next few weeks to see how they're going to do this.
Right. That dude's Braun Breaker has quite the neck to be able to withhold something like that. I think other wrestlers would have had their
Oh,
neck broken on that.
it
So
would be over.
yeah. And I will say, like, as I know you're continuing on the This Is Wrestling review of Survivor Series, where I leave no stone unturned in terms of my liking of the show. But in this case, I will say, in a positive thing about WWE is that I thought the promo he cut yesterday on Raw was really, really good.
Fire,
I thought it was a
really
great
fire.
promo, and it's not like your stereotypical well spoken promo or anything like that. It was just like what you said, fire, like energy,
Right,
passion, like, and it felt like I was watching a wrestling pro, like a guy that really cared, right? And it just
right.
goes back to like how, I've been saying it each and every week is like, let's push this guy. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things, I'll spoil a little bit of the review, but one of the things I was disappointed with in doing that angle with the masked man going into the Survivor Series War Games cage was that it took away from a potential, Braun Breaker victory.
Right.
You know what I mean? And people talk about, oh my gosh, Braun Breaker pinned CM Punk and this all-star team, right? Like that could
Mm-hmm.
have been a bigger moment. But instead, we're talking about who this masked person is. And while, yes, I agree with you, like there, you don't usually get that sort of intrigue anymore because usually it's like out there. It's still like I still feel like you could have gone a different path if you want to establish a guy.
Right.
So that all that and more, and I say it in a not so nice way on the This Is Wrestling review, but I will say that promo that he cut on Raw was very, very good, and I'm excited to see where they go if they continue to follow through with this push.
Yeah, I'm excited too. One last thing. Let's talk a little bit about baseball because we haven't spoken since the World Series. I read today Tarik Skubal, which we all know if you follow baseball, one of the best pitchers in the game today. Won the Cy Young last. He won. Yeah, he won Cy Young, right?
Yep,
Yeah, he won Cy.
I'm pretty
So,
sure he did.
yeah, he won Cy Young 2 years in a row. Um, It'd be crazy to talk about him getting traded, but hey, we live in a day and age where free agency, big contracts, teams not really pushing to spend too much money and maybe doing free agency and so on and so forth. Uh, there's talk about him getting traded. Will the Detroit Tigers end up trading? Which is a crazy question to ask. But then you start thinking about, wait a minute. So he's going to be ending into free agency at the end of the 2026 season.
Right.
So you have to believe that if Detroit is not in the playoff picture come a month prior to the trade deadline,
Right.
that there might be a chance that Detroit goes, look, we're not going to make the playoffs. He's not going to, we're not going to sign him. We're not ready to give him $400 million. That what I think is the number floating around. He's obviously going to command a lot of money. He is a number one starter on every single team in the major leagues. He's just he's been consistent season after season in recent years. Again, winning Cy Young after Cy Young, like just a phenomenal pitcher. So when you hear trade talk, we're heading into the off-season meeting, in the winter meetings, I believe, soon, which obviously the talks are when they all get together, there's obviously going to be a lot of talk, a lot of trade talk. You have to think that the Yankees, who just lost Devin Williams, I believe, that just signed
Yep.
with the Mets.
Yep.
Where their pitching last year was so a lot of injuries. They do have great pitchers. It's just inconsistent. You have to think about the Red Sox as well, the big names. I won't put the Dodgers because I don't think the Dodgers are going to add another. I mean, it would be just ludicrous to think that
Yeah.
the Dodgers would just go, okay, we're going to have Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and Blake Snell. Oh, let's just add Tarik Skubal to the mix and might as well just hand them over the World Series trophies for the next 5 years because what the fuck. But honestly, I could see Skubal. Look, you go from Detroit to the Yankees. I could see, he feels like a Yankee to me. To me, in my head, I'm like, it feels like it's it's like almost a done deal that if he does get traded, that the Yankees would be at the top of the list. The Blue Jays just signed Dylan Cease. Like, there's a lot they probably wouldn't be chasing. From what I hear, the Blue Jays are looking more to bolster their bullpen and even
Yep.
looking to get maybe another closer, someone for end of games. So I don't think the Blue Jays would be in play for a guy like Skubal. Probably not willing to pay him $400 million plus either.
No.
The Mets, well, what you just played Soto, you just signed a bunch of guys like. No, I don't think so. I can't really think of any other team he would be a fit in, especially you have to think that if the Tigers decided to trade him during the season, even before this, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make a big move before the season. They go, look, we're not going to take the chance where we're almost in playoff contention and we're not sure, and then we decide not to trade him, then they end up not making the playoffs, and then they just goes off to free agency and they don't get anything for him, right? I think the
Yep.
longer you wait to trade him, if you're willing to consider it, the more chances of you just losing out on the whole thing. So the Yankees are probably a suitor, and you have to think of another team that's probably in contention at that point. I wouldn't see him going to a team that's not in contention. I can't see him going to I don't know, a Texas, a Rangers team that might or might
Right.
not be in contestant, or an Astros team that might or might not make the playoffs. So again, the Yankees are jump off at me, which are probably the number one suitor for Tarik Skubal. I just thought it was interesting. It's maybe something to add to the show right now to talk a little bit about baseball with the winter meetings ahead. Any thoughts on this? Obviously, it's a big name, one of the best pitchers in the game. Any thoughts on all these free agency and trade talk about Tarik Skubal?
Yeah, I was surprised when I first heard that he was, being offered around, especially coming off a Cy Young season.
Right,
But as it became more clear, it's like, oh, you look at the asking price that he's probably going to command and the way that these baseball contracts are going to go. I can understand a little bit more why the Tigers, especially that organization, that's
right,
not really known to spend huge on their players. So, if you're expecting him to go in free agency, you might as well trade him away and try and get something back. Like you mentioned, that's a team that's been able to put together and get themselves into playoff contention. And so that will be interesting. Like what you said, I think it makes a lot more sense for a contending team. I mean, it's easy to say the Yankees and it's easy to say the Red Sox, but really
hmm
those are the teams that spend a lot of money. It would be funny to see him go to the Mets because the Mets would just be like outspending the Yankees even
right,
more at that point,
and they
which would
still
be
wouldn't win.
hilarious, and they still wouldn't win, like, because it's the Mets and they'll find a way.
yeah,
But and I would just sit there and laugh. It's like, oh, the New York Mets, they just find different ways.
right,
But in this case, like, like what you mentioned, I'm looking at the Blue Jays, and it was actually announced just as we were recording that they signed Cody Ponce,
yeah.
who's to a 3-year deal. He's the MVP for the Korean baseball organization. Um, 17-1 record and a 189 ERA while playing
Wait.
in
Who
Korea.
signed? Who signed? I thought I saw someone else from the Pirates.
Cody Ponce, 3-year deal. It was just announced while we were on the show, while
Oh
we were
shit!
talking on the
Okay, I didn't
show.
see that because I saw they did
Yes.
sign a guy from the Pirates, I think,
hmm
but I might be. Anyway, that's interesting.
Yes. And so a 3-year deal. So it's a 3-year, $30 million contract for Ponce. So that'll be interesting to see if they, like, to me, that seems like a commitment to him being the fifth starter in the rotation. And if not, if it doesn't work out, you could put him in the bullpen.
Right.
So that makes it interesting to see where Barrios kind of stands with the organization too and all that. But going back to Skubal, yeah, it makes it interesting because, you know, like, I would just be so mad if it's the Dodgers again. It's like, really? It's like, well, we had to replace Clayton Kershaw somehow. And it's like, well,
Right.
I don't think we need, yeah, Tarik Skubal
I
needs
don't
to be
think
the
you need
replacement,
to
but
replace him at all.
I think your team's pretty solid, you know.
Right.
But nonetheless, yeah, it's weird. It's interesting, and the timing of it all too, especially when you have talks about a lockout in 2027 start approaching too, and
Yeah.
like you got the CBA that's going to be coming up. There's going to be a lot to discuss. So I wonder, like, if we'll see any teams really try and spend big. Like we've seen with other teams, it's like, some players try to command these big salaries, but they end up signing for like a year or two on a like still a lot of money for you and I. But in terms of the
Right.
average baseball player, it would be, maybe not to what they could be fully paid for in a long-term deal. So I wonder if Skubal's in a case. I wonder if either team is even in a case to try and make a trade like that for Tarik Skubal if they want to sign long term. We see with the Jays, obviously, with the signing of Dylan Cease, that
Right.
they're willing to go long term. Like they're coming in and they're like, we need to sign some guys because we've got a team here that we want to compete with. But I don't know if every team in the MLB is kind of like that right now. It
Right.
feels like that there's not this big spending spree that goes on and that's going on in baseball, unless you're like the certain level of players like a Shohei Ohtani or a Juan Soto or somebody like that. So going to be fascinating.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of teams that could use him. If I look at the National
sure.
League, right, the Brewers, the Cubs, the Padres that just lost Cease, you could see them maybe pushing. But like you said, even the Phillies, like there's a lot of teams in the National League that I could see them adding a guy like Tarik Skubal to their lineup, to their rotation. But again, most of these teams are not known to spend that much money in order to sign a guy to a long-term contract in the hundreds of millions of dollars like he's commanding. So if he is going to sign a long-term contract, you have to assume it's going to be to one of those big teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, and I don't want to say the Dodgers, but at this point, every year if we go, they're not going to sign another guy, and then you just go like, okay,
they sign another guy, or they sign the next top Japanese prospect.
That's another thing. There's a few Japanese prospects coming in right now. They've been I don't know what's the word I'm looking for that they use, but they have 45 days, which that was a few weeks ago, to sign these guys. And the Dodgers are always in the mix with these Japanese guys because Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, Sasaki, all these guys. So it's very interesting because Japanese baseball is huge right now and a lot of great players and especially offensive players. It's very interesting. But it just adds a little bit more spice to the off season when I hear things like this. That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
For sure.
Zach, another great episode of Blue Collar Sports. I appreciate you taking time to sit down and talk football, baseball, college football today. This is the 11th episode this season of Blue Collar Sports. Again, thank you to all the listeners, to everybody that subscribed, to everybody that shares our content. Thank you. We appreciate you. Again, if you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe. It really helps. The more numbers we can get, the more views we can get, the more exposure we can get, the more we can keep doing this. And obviously, hopefully one day try to, get this Blue Collar Sports out and big and just become the biggest sports podcast on planet Earth.
That's right.
We're not there yet, but that's where we want to be.
Yeah, we'll have a giant studio and we'll be, we'll have a basketball court in there and we'll just start shooting some hoops in between breaks and all that. And
the goal is to get SVG TV to the point where we have a studio and we can all be in the same confine and not have to do this remotely. But Zach, thank you once again. I know you're a busy man and I appreciate you very much. Thank you for doing these. And hopefully we'll get to talk next week about maybe more college football, definitely about some NFL, and hopefully my Steelers, I'll win a football game, and hopefully your Cowboys will win, so we'll be in a better mood so I don't have to rant for 10 minutes about how much my Steelers suck right now. But Zach, thank you very much. And to all the listeners, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you again soon for another episode of Blue Collar Sports.